Hello, it's Kristen Atkins here with Impressing Minds, and today I'm going to talk about the various roles that people play in the foster care system. So, for example, you're probably familiar with a foster parent. Now, this foster parent steps into the role of parent whenever the biological parent can no longer fulfill their duties for whatever reason. I have a video on reasons kids go into foster care. I'll put that there. And the foster parent steps in to be a foster parent temporarily until the parents can get back on track. Who else plays roles in the system? So let's talk about some APO, or an administrative services organization. So there are other people involved besides the social worker. You are probably familiar also with the social worker. These social workers take care of all the ins and outs. They get resources for the foster children. They get resources for the foster parents when needed to take care of the children. They are responsible for doing things necessary to help the parents get back on track. For example, if the reason the children were taken in the first place was a lack of parenting skills or neglect. Sadly, neglect is a major issue, and it could be educational neglect or medical neglect, anything like that. The ASO, Administrative Services Organization, people would step in and teach the parents life skills and parenting skills. For example, if it's neglect, they would teach them parenting, how to properly care for the children. If they're infants, maybe they need help learning how to take care of an infant. Maybe they were never taught how to take care of an infant. If it is discipline, maybe they never been taught proper discipline techniques. Being consistent and providing consequences. So these providers go into their home and teach them and train them in parenting skills and life skills. Also, these providers also do supervised visitation with the children and their parents when they have visits. And what they would do is observe objectively what is going on during the visit. So when visits take place, they would make some objective notes as to whether or not they are putting into practice what they're learning in their parenting skills classes. So, for example, if they're learning about consequences, are they putting into play those consequences in their visitation? And so those two people communicate and discuss the next step. So, are they implementing what they've learned in the parenting classes that the provider is teaching them? If so, they may need to move on to the next lesson. If not, then the provider that's working with them to teach parenting skills maybe needs to review. So there's one education specialist, so there's an education person, and then a life skills trainer, that's probably the same person, and then there's someone that's doing the supervised visitation. They would also be transporting the children, so for their visit. So they would come and maybe pick up the children, take them to their visit, and also they would correlate drug screens, taking the parents maybe to an interview for a job, taking them to appointments if they don't have, transportation. They would be doing things like that to help the parents get their needs met. So those are very important services that maybe you're not familiar with, but very valuable in the whole scheme of things. Um, Other services that are very important are mental health. And so you would have counselors and therapists and those people that help whenever there is an issue or need, um, because it's very traumatic for children to be taken from their parents. So you would have school counselors that would help as far as school. And so when the students maybe have to transfer schools, that could be they've been taken from their home. Also, they may have been transferred to a new school. Maybe you need to get in touch with the school counselor and discuss the situation and if that warrants some counseling sessions. I know that in several of the foster children that I had, I went ahead and set up some counseling with a school counselor so that that would be kind of proactively going on or ongoing, so that they were aware that these children were now in foster care, because the children that I had were actually in the same school, so no one would have known that they had been put in foster care unless I had called the school and said, they may be having some behavior issues, which they were. They, may have fallen down in their grades a little bit, different things like that. So I went ahead and was kind of proactive and got an appointment set up with a school counselor so they could have a little one-on-one with them to see if they could just talk to someone and see what was going on, or if they could get some proactive help. So you have a school counselor, and then if that didn't seem to help, you could also have therapy with a therapist outside of the school system. So that would be something that, with your social worker's permission, you could set up. I'm not sure, your agency's policy, but when I was doing foster care, I set that up with their permission after I gained some rapport and trust with them. They let me set that up with, and then they gave me some names of some really good therapists, and that helped quite a bit. And so you have your mental health professionals that play a big role in the foster care system aside from your foster parents. And of course, you have the different lawyers that are there to provide legal counsel for the various entities of the people involved. For example, each entity, like the children, would have their own lawyer. They would be called the guardian ad litem. The mom would have her own lawyer. Dad would have his own lawyer. So each person involved would have their own lawyer to go along with the system, because dad and mom do not need to have the same lawyer. For example, if mom is doing everything she's supposed to do, she would have legal counsel to say, mom is doing what she's supposed to do, she deserves to get the kids back. Whereas dad may not be doing everything, and his lawyer would have a different approach, and he would need different counsel. So mom and dad cannot have the same lawyer. Whereas the children are separate, they have their guardian ad litem, and they have representation separate from the parents, of course. And they have their lawyers representing them in their best interest, aside from the parents. All right, so we've talked about the providers, we've talked about mental health, and we've talked about legal aspects. And so there are so many other, there's agencies and all the different agency workers, but that is just a few of the different entities that help provide services for these foster kids aside from the foster parents. And I'm sure there are other ones that I am not going to mention in this video. If you have the chance, would you please subscribe to this video. I'm going to do several other videos trying to get the word out, just very basic information on foster care and how you can have a reality check of what foster care is really like. Not a fairy tale scenario, but more of reality perspectives that, you know, I did foster care for 10 years, and now I'm just trying to advocate for more of a realistic viewpoint and not some, you know, fairy tale, picturesque, perfect type of viewpoint. So please subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.